And we're live. I was going to suggest another shot, but he just pushed the record button. Hi, you're listening to Jezebel
and the Jester.
And we're so glad you guys are tuning in. We are, of course, starting off with a little tequila. So if you're here with us today, I would like you to pour yourself a drink. It's been a day.
Yo.
It's been a fucking day. And if you've had a day,
it's been a day.
I highly suggest that you pour yourself a drink as well. Yeah, it's been a day. We've been, just to be real with you guys, like podcasting is not just, you know what I mean? You already know.
Not.
You already know what I'm going to say. I literally was just talking to a friend about this today. I was saying, look, they're like, wow, like you're like such a cool podcaster now. Like you have, like you look so cool on there. And I'm like, look, if you knew the work,
the stress.
if you knew the work that you had to put in to start a fucking podcast, you might rethink it.
Hold on, wait a second. You remember the MTV Diaries? You think you know.
You think you know, but you have no idea. Yeah, I absolutely remember that. I am, it's just been a day. Bumps will come along the way, and Ernest and I have experienced those bumps today, but...
Let me put myself together.
Yeah, you know what? You look nice.
Thank you.
I really like the green. I like that I also wore green today.
I put some effort in.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
For sure.
I did too. I like to put effort into this because it's important to me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You look fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, look at us. Look at us.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Not me. Absolutely not me. But here we are, starting this podcast. So we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're here, we want to let you know that you are officially invited to our close friends list. This is a place that you can chill with us, hang out with us, get the realness. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. And actually, that's part of what we're going to be talking about today is mental health and therapy.
Sometimes it's cloudy days. And the most important part is that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be okay.
It's
also
okay. It's okay to have cloudy days.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. So today we are going to, something that I've been really passionate about with starting the podcast was talking about mental health. I noticed we didn't really talk about it yet. Feedback we got from the podcast was how excited people were to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
And how we don't really talk about it a lot. Women tend to talk about it a lot, more than men, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I really wanted to bring it onto the show because, of course, you guys know, if anyone follows me on my personal Instagram, you guys already know I'd be crying on there. I'd be telling you guys.
You cry a little bit on there.
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Really real, though.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Do you?
I do.
Because sometimes I have these thoughts where I'm like, do people think I'm being dramatic?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I promise you I'm not. I am literally just crying because I'm having an overwhelming day. And I feel like a lot of people go through that and they just don't talk about it. And I'm just really, I don't give a fuck if people see me cry.
Yo, fuck what people think.
Yeah, no, I really feel like that. So we want to talk a little bit about mental health. Yeah, and just our perspectives on it and like what we see and then the stigma of therapy and all that kind of stuff. So so just to be real, Ernest.
Please, I would expect you to be nothing less.
Yeah, I actually kind of wanted to focus this a little bit more on the male perspective. And let me tell you why.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a stigma within the male community. Also, to be real, it is also a stigma in the black community. Yeah. And I'm half Mexican. It's a stigma in my community as well. But I really wanted to talk about it from your perspective first, if we could start with you first. I know.
That's a lot of pressure.
I know, because I always start.
That's a lot of, all right. Well, this is your podcast.
I understand.
I am the co-host.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
I feel like it's a stigma across all minorities, honestly.
Yeah. No, it is, yeah.
Just because as a minority, you can't show any sign of weakness or the majority might take advantage of you. Mm-hmm. I feel like that might have a little bit to do with it. You know? Just being a minority hardens you a little bit on top of being a man, you know, on top of being a male.
Yeah, be real.
Which already hardens you, right? So you're not allowed, it's frowned upon you're made to look soft if you show any emotions as a man. And so, especially to like say that you've, you know, gone and look for therapy or talk to somebody, you know, is like,
right. They look at you weird.
It's starting to get better.
I
feel like, but it's still not where it needs to be. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it was so funny because we were talking about therapy on this episode, and I was thinking to myself, I was, saying how like would some of my kind of friends who I don't think maybe go to therapy, those like super quote unquote hardcore like alpha people.
Alpha males.
Yeah.
Those alpha
like
males.
alpha people.
The people
I'm
that
like,
go to
hold
the
on.
gym and they say that the iron therapy,
Yeah.
that the gym is their therapy. Right.
No,
yeah.
that don't count.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know. And that's hard to hear from you probably.
I'll be the first to tell you.
And that's why I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Because it is like that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I started going to therapy. This was 2020. I think it was 2020.
Like just recently, really,
Yeah,
2
it
years
wasn't-
ago.
yeah, for sure.
Which is crazy because isn't that when the pandemic really started too, right?
Yeah, but it had less to do with the pandemic and more to do with my own addictions,
Right.
And,
That we've talked about already.
and problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was when I first went to therapy, and my first experience with therapy was with a therapist, like a general therapist, that a friend of mine suggested to me. And I went and talked to her, and I told her that I was more focused on wanting to get some help for my sex addiction. And so she kind of was like, that's not my expertise. What you're looking for is like a CSAT, which is like a certified sex addiction therapist. And I was like, okay.
They have certified sex addiction therapists.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, they have therapists for
they do.
Specific.
I was going to talk about specific things, but I didn't know that like sex addiction. I knew like sex therapy between couples, to like spice up their sex life was normal.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that they actually had sex, which makes sense. I'm not shocked. I just didn't know that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it does. It does make sense for sure. So, so I went and spoke to just a general therapist. We talked, told her kind of what I want to focus on, and we found a CSAT that was in the Valley, was in Las Vegas, and went and saw her. And this was, during my last relationship and everything. And the things that I learned in the several months that I was active in therapy, I don't know if I talked about this on the last episode, but I kind of developed a resentment toward therapy. I think I did.
I remember you told me personally, but you didn't tell.
I didn't tell the
mention
people?
it in the podcast.
I didn't tell the people?
I know, but they don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't know. Okay.
So my last relationship, which I've already talked about, cheated. Started going to therapy for my sex addiction. Then I kind of fell out of therapy when her and I broke up because I developed this resentment toward it because I felt like there was no reprieve. I was going through all of these hoops and I was jumping through all these hoops and doing all of these things, but I felt like there was no let up. It was just constant pressure on me. And there was I was in my personal therapy, I was in group therapy, and we were both in couples therapy.
Was she in her own?
She was in her own therapy too.
Okay, so she had her own personal therapy. Okay.
And so I was doing a lot of work. I was checking in every day. I had to tell her where I was going every time I left anywhere. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it became overwhelming at times. And so after that, I developed kind of this. It made me resent her. It made me resent like the whole process of going through all of the therapy and everything like that. So after I finally ended it with her because I'd had enough and wasn't getting anything back, I stopped going to therapy
Altogether.
Yeah, altogether. But I still worked on my addiction.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about that before, but I just started going back to therapy.
Which I'm so happy about.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you
that literally warms my heart.
You definitely encouraged me to get back and start talking to somebody. Although I feel like I have a kind of a handle, a little bit better of a handle on.
And here's the thing: everybody has this idea in their mind that they have to be a crazy person, or they have to be
for sure
totally out of their mind, or something is totally wrong for them to go to therapy, and that's just not the case.
That's not true.
Yeah, like you obviously want to go through therapy for that as well. But even if things are going great, you really still should be going through therapy, because that way you can help. They can help you process those thoughts. You shouldn't just be processing your negative thoughts. You should be processing your positive thoughts too, and like how those make you feel, and like why you should continue to try to be positive, right? Like, so I'm glad that you're continuing, and it really does. It makes me so happy.
Nah, you're good.
It makes me so happy that you felt, encouraged by me to go.
You definitely inspired me to start going back to therapy for sure. Yeah.
It's good.
And it's real good.
Yeah.
And I actually went in and I didn't know what I was going in for necessarily.
Yeah.
So.
Which is okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
I feel like everyone has that.
The whole time I was going in, I was like, we'll figure something out. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And I know for a fact that therapists get that a lot. Yeah. Like I've talked to my therapist about that, like where she's like, yeah, sometimes people come in and they just like don't know what to talk about, and that's their entire job. Yeah. It's like, okay, let me pull something out of you. You know, like let's figure it out together. For sure. Tell me about your work. Tell me about your life. Tell me about, and then you start to figure things out. Like, you know what, this does kind of stress me out, or like, you know what, I don't really like this part of my life. So
there's something like nobody's perfect.
Correct. Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. And everybody has something to talk about, something that stresses them out, or something that provokes anxiety. There's everybody, I don't care who it is, has something to talk about, something to get off their chest, I guess. So,
absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with that. I think that it's just, for men, it's such a stigma. So did you stop going to therapy mostly because you weren't getting anything back from it, or because you thought, I don't need to go anymore, I'm working on it by myself? Like why did you stop really?
I stopped because I developed a resentment for it. Yeah, I developed this, I don't want to say a hatred, but kind of I started to dislike it. And it was, I felt like I was going more for her than I was for me at that point. And it was kind of like me just lashing out, me fighting back, Yeah. I was like, I'm not going. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with all of it. And it was just so overwhelming. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm exhausted. I felt physically exhausted just from jumping through all of these hoops.
And it can be exhausting, but also it shouldn't feel like you're the only one doing any work, right? Like, for sure. If the other person's not reciprocating your efforts or whatever, then it's pointless to do it for them. And then if you're doing it for them, you're not doing it for yourself, that's another big issue.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. That's actually something I had with my ex when I found out, like, he was talking to another girl, and, like, I had told him, like, you need to go to therapy. Like, because he was in the Marines. So anyone in the military, if you're in the military, I'm sorry, I need you to go to therapy. It's important. It's so important. Regardless if you're not, even if you're not in the Marines, if you're not in the military, you should still go to therapy. But especially people in the military, because they hold a lot. There's a lot going on with them, And so I told him he needed to go to therapy, and then he said, I already made an appointment. And I'm like, okay, which I don't think he did, but I broke up with him before we could even find out. Yeah. But I do feel like he would have been going for me anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't have been going for himself, and then at that point, I would have ended it anyway, because I want someone that would want to help themselves.
It's crucial that you go for yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard, though.
Oh, for sure.
Especially, and this is something that we talked about, was should we get back into a relationship after I broke up with her the first time and tried to get back with her and got back with her. It was something we talked about. Should we get back together right now, or should we kind of do our own thing and, kind of focus on ourselves?
Yeah.
And I think it would have been much better if we did our own thing, hindsight being 20/20. But it's hard to distinguish whether or not you're doing something for somebody else when you're in it with them.
Right.
Right.
Because in technical, you are doing it for them, and you should be doing something for them because you love them, right? Like you care about them. You want to do the work for them, right? But also you should be putting yourself in there. And I think we forget that part a lot when we're in a relationship. Like, that's why I'm like, in a relationship, out of relationship, go to therapy. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, you should be doing it for you. For sure. And I mean, I know I did I was planning on going back to therapy anyway before my breakup, because I was like, I need to go back. I mean, we'll get into that later. Anyway, so you went back recently. Yeah. Right? And how was it? Like when you first went back, I know you said you didn't really expect anything. You didn't know what to talk about. Yeah. What did you guys end up like really, if you feel comfortable sharing, like what you guys even talked about, like what was it that she was trying to pull out of you?
So I went in and she had me fill out like some short paperwork. And on one of the spots, it was like, what am I seeing you for? And I didn't really know what to put. And so I just put sex addiction. And when she read it, she was like, okay, so last time I saw you, we were talking about your sex addiction. And I was like, yeah. Then I kind of told her kind of like the short story of what happened and how I'd been working on it, kind of with myself and developing a more healthy relationship with it. And she was like, okay, that's good, And we actually ended up talking about my current relationship and how that looks and my thrill-seeking nature. Of being in like a long distance relationship kind of thing and what that looks like. And another cool thing that we talked about was how in the beginning of relationships, it's really dopamine driven, right?
Sorry, I just had to make a quick look over to our little sign that used to say, where's the mic? And now it says, Where's the dopamine?
Yo, where is it at? Speaking of dope, that was totally not meant to be.
I know. But it worked out really well. It worked out really well for this episode. Anyways. So at the beginning of relationship.
In the beginning, probably like the first 3 to 6 months is very dopamine driven because it's very new. And so any activity you get with one another, it's very exciting and fresh, and it's that honeymoon phase essentially is what it is. Her and I talked about this the very first time I saw her. And I remember writing it down. Like I took notes and like drew a graph, or she drew a graph for me and I like had it as notes. I was like, this is fucking fascinating shit because I never,
Okay. No, I'm just joking.
I'm serious. I never.
You guys are all like pulling up your Excel sheets and making fucking graphs.
She drew like a little
formulas
like a
and
graph.
shit.
And she was like, and she, if we could put this graph on this episode. If you find it, I'll put it on.
I'll put it on there.
Yeah. But it's just like a curve and it goes up and it comes down and it just talks about like, this is like the excitement, of a new relationship, and then it peaks at a certain point, in 3 to 6 months, and then it starts to come down, and then you have to have something more than dopamine to drive your relationship and keep you guys together. She drew an X, like right after the peak where it starts to come down. She goes, this is where most people leave. And I felt like I saw myself in this fucking graph. And I was like, yo, that's when I would leave. Exactly when I leave.
Yeah.
I was like, as soon as it stops feeling like, like a rush, as soon as that honeymoon phase is over, I start like questioning things.
Right. Everyone does.
Like, yeah. And
you're not the only person that thinks that.
It's so important to understand how that works. To have that knowledge is to be like, okay, wait. Oh, this is what she was talking about. Okay, now I need something else to hold on to.
Right.
And so it was very eye-opening. And we talked about that again, even in my current relationship. And she goes, I like long distance relationships because it's like exciting.
Right.
And that period, even my last relationship was a long distance relationship.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, but okay. I don't know if I'm going to answer.
Okay, I'll ask you a personal question. Do you think it's a good idea to have a long distance relationship with the addiction that you've had before, right? Like if you had that addiction and someone's so far away and you're not getting that from them, like do you think that's a safe idea?
It's an exercise.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I fucks with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
It's challenging
like
to me.
Discipline.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta stay the course.
Yeah.
And so I like it. I prefer it,
Yeah.
actually.
No, I know you prefer it.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. And good for
Yeah.
you. Oh, the bunny fell.
Oh, shit.
Oh, the poor you know what? This bunny gets so much shit every
This bunny is
fucking
the star
episode.
of the fucking show.
I fucking love this bunny. We literally like had her hanging off.
Wait.
We don't know what they are. We don't know what pronouns.
What are the bunny's pronouns?
We don't know the pronouns are. There we go. Now she's fine. She's fine again. Anyways, but so you find like a discipline, like an exercise.
Yeah,
That's good. Because for me, that's literally the reason I wouldn't be able to. And I don't have a sex addiction.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
You don't?
I don't think I do. Wow.
Have you talked to your therapist about it?
About my non-existence.
You were about to say about your sex addiction.
I have talked. I actually haven't covered that with her. I do talk about my promiscuity. Mm-hmm. For a lot of you guys that know that are on my like close friends, I think I've mentioned it on my my regular list. I recently went to a psychiatrist because I wasn't able to get a hold of my mood swings. They were just like all over the place, and when I went to my psychiatrist, I was like, look, I have ADD. I already know I'm diagnosed ADD. I already know I'm diagnosed depressed. I have depressive episodes. I was like, so I need something for my ADD. I literally went in with that intention of getting that fixed. And then she was like, you know what? Just from like how you act, from what you've been telling me. Because I went through a whole thing with her. Like, she asked me a bunch of questions. Are you promiscuous? Are you this? Are you that? Do you do these things? Do you like spend money when you shouldn't spend money? Like, are these all these things that you do? And I'm like, yes, yes,
Yes, I
yes,
do.
yes to everything. And she's like, okay, I'm going to put you on this medication, which is generally prescribed for people who have bipolar depression. I'm not saying you have bipolar depression. However, it does sound like you do have some bipolar qualities. So yeah, so promiscuity is actually a huge part of that. So where you just make but I will say I practice safe sex.
That's good.
Every time.
That's good.
Every fucking time.
Damn, good for you.
Yeah, because
Good
that's
for
actually
you.
like a huge part of bipolar 1. Like they would consider me bipolar 2 if I were to have anything. But bipolar 1 is like, they don't give a fuck. They will they don't care.
Yeah.
They will just go be promiscuous and they will not practice safe sex. They don't do, you know what I mean? And they make all these horrible decisions in the moment because they need that dopamine. Yikes. Yeah. So that, what a fitting fucking sign today. What a fitting fucking sign. Okay. Anyways. So yeah. So that's why I haven't talked to her about it. I haven't talked to my therapist about what my psychiatrist said, but in my defense, I haven't seen her since I've seen my psychiatrist. I have an appointment this week. So yeah. So I'll talk to her. Maybe I'll talk about it.
Maybe just get like a little survey.
Yeah.
A little test, a little questionnaire.
Well, a lot of it has to do with my codependency, right? Like I'm very codependent.
On? What do you mean codependent?
I don't like to be alone.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I could fill that aloneness with a body, I'm good.
Let's unpack that.
Let's unpack that. I don't know what to unpack. I think
Why do you feel that way?
I don't know what I depend on. Honestly, I'm just I just don't want to be alone. I don't like to be by myself. I mean, the crazy thing is I live alone. I have a dog. That's about the only interaction I have at home all day. Mm-hmm. I'm at home a lot after work, so it's not like I'm at, you know what I mean? And then if I feel that urge to be I don't want to be by myself, I hate being by myself, that's immediately when I start doing the WYD texts. Eggplant emoji. Hey, what are you?
Interesting. So
last night.
Let me... We still got to talk about the time you slipped up and said it was the best of your life.
Oh
and then
shit! Wait, when was that?
That was last episode, I think. You were I had the best of my life.
I think it was.
I take it back.
No, I take that back because it wasn't the best of my life, but it was the
minute.
best I'd had in a really long time.
Good for you.
You know what? Good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you. I was it wasn't the best I've ever had, but it was the best I've had in a long time. And I'm I need you to stick around, which he's going to stick around. So that's good. At least we have something. But my codependency issue is a problem.
Okay.
That I
want to talk about this codependency issue real quick.
All right.
Can you think of a time in your life where you were alone and it was a traumatic experience for you?
No, which is so crazy because I've literally never been alone. Like I grew up with both parents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, was their marriage great? No, it was terrible to watch a lot of it. They're better now. Like they're great now. They've been married for like almost 40 years. Like they're good. But like during the marriage, like during the me time that I was there and my brother was there, like it was not good.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, I mean, I moved out to Arizona, lived with my brother. My brother and I were super close. Like, I think the problem is that I always have had someone. And so I've depended on always having that person or having someone near me. I got married immediately after I basically moved out of my brother's house.
So you've never been alone?
Yeah.
Until
So this
when?
is my first
Until
time.
after your marriage?
After my marriage, when I separated from my husband, I separated from him in like June 2020.
Wow.
So I've been alone for 2 years. Yeah, like all by myself, financially, like everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the first time I've ever been alone. And I was 33.
There it is.
Dang.
There
it is. We figured it out. Wow. I don't even need to go to
You've
therapy
never
anymore.
Even been alone.
Yeah, I've never been alone.
Damn.
I've never been by myself. I was alone. Okay. When I moved out of my brother's house, I was living alone for like a year and a half. So I was alone for a year and a half. I was very dependent though on the church because that's when I really started going back to church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're not alone if you're in a church.
No. Like I was like really in it, you know, and that's when I really got into that's actually when my first like experience with like evangelical Christianity happened was when I was by myself because what they do is they love, no offense, but they or take offense. Yeah, take offense. They love to take you when you're at your most vulnerable, alone by yourself. You have no one. They're like, you know what? We got you. Come over here. Like, let's just chat it up. Did you know about Jesus? You know who he is? And then that's it.
He'll save you.
He'll save you. He'll be by your side all of it. They depend on codependent people.
Oh.
They depend on codependent people to be tithing to their churches. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So I was sucked in, and then from there they try to get you married. So I got married at a really young age too. I'm
locked in.
23. I was married, as I've mentioned before already. Okay, let's just be honest. And I hate talking about it sometimes because for a lot of you that know or don't know, like my husband passed away a year ago, and so we were already separated, getting a divorce. But it was still awful. It was still a horrible thing. And so talking about how terrible my marriage is always feels very guilty to me. So excuse me if I like get upset. You know, I'm like, I'm trying to talk about it, but it's so hard because I do really care about him as a person. But that doesn't mean that just because I cared about him, that I was in a terrible situation or what I was in was a terrible situation. Just because someone's dead doesn't make them a better person when they were alive, right? So it wasn't a good. I settled. I for sure settled because I just wanted to get married because I just wanted someone next to me all the time.
So, okay. So this is your codependency.
Yeah.
You were 23 when you got married.
Yeah.
And even at that time. So can you tell me like, what's the earliest time that you felt uncomfortable when somebody wasn't there? Can you remember that?
No, I mean, not really. Yeah.
No?
Like I literally always had someone.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were together. We always had roommates because we grew up very poor. And so we always had roommates. So a lot of my roommates were my family members, like my aunts. I always had my aunts around. I had, I'm a Mexican. So I had like thousands of cousins, like so many family members.
Yeah.
And so like, I didn't, like ever feel alone. They were always around. But I think it was the emotional disconnect I've always had. Like, I never had an emotional connection with my dad or an emotional connection with my family, really, except for my mom. My mom and I are pretty close. But other than that, I never had, like, like I said, in the Mexican culture, it's a stigma.
Yeah.
You don't get emotional. You don't talk about your fucking feelings.
Yeah.
Like, no one talks about that shit, right? So, and I'm sure that's very similar to what you grew up in, too, right? And especially as a male.
Yeah.
No man talks about their feelings. I mean, even to this day, I can't find a fucking man that talks about his feelings. Except for you sometimes, but like, I talk to men all the time that just have a really hard time, and
It's tough.
it's so tough. And so I have a really good friend at work too that I talk about mental health with, and he's a black male. And I'm like, do you go to therapy? And he's like, no, I don't go. And I'm like, why? Like, why don't you go? I'm just, no judgment.
Yeah.
But why
Just
don't
curious.
you go? Yeah. And he's like, I don't know. We just never really talked about that growing up. Like, that wasn't a thing. Or if you went, there was something wrong with you.
That's exactly. I tried to get my mom to go to therapy.
Yeah.
After her brother passed away.
Yeah.
I was like, you should go talk to somebody about this. And the first thing she says, I'm not crazy. And I'm like,
I know.
it's such an old school mindset.
It is.
That you have to be crazy to go seek therapy.
And like you said, it's getting better.
It is.
Right? It's
Yeah,
getting
for
so
sure.
much better. And I think like us talking about it too, like from a male perspective, what that looks like for us and why we think it's so valid and important is going to hopefully encourage our listeners to go to therapy. You know what I mean? Like that's all I want. I just want our listeners to go to therapy. And it's so funny we're talking about this because we were supposed to talk about this last time we recorded, but we didn't because we ended up getting caught up in our addictions and we had to have 2 parts to it and we didn't have time.
Caught up in our addictions.
Look at us caught up in our addictions and our just conversation. We were just blabbing on.
Yeah.
So I really want to encourage you guys, if you're listening, like if you're not okay, that's okay.
And that's everybody.
Everybody's not okay. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it too, social media has a huge impact on people. Oh my God, they're doing so much better than me. And I get that so much. You seem so happy all the time, you know? Look at your progress. Look how much, look what you've done. Look at your weight loss. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Your weight loss, man, you look great. And I'm like, yeah, I feel good physically, but mentally I wasn't there, you know? I wasn't in the same spot because it's a mind fuck,
It
you
is.
know? So I really hope that our listeners really get encouraged by that because we really want to make sure that we want to talk about the risque and the crazy and the fun, right?
Yeah,
but we also want to get, we already got there. We already talked
we'll
about
get,
but
we'll get there further.
We'll get into it more.
We'll get into it.
But we do really want to be serious sometimes and talk about like, hey, like a lot of the issues or a lot of the things that we've gone through are because we lacked therapy, lacked mental health of understanding of any sort, right? And now that we have a little bit of a grasp of understanding like, oh, okay, we need to change our actions, right? Like we can't stay like this forever. We have to grow, right? And we're really big about growth.
Yeah.
We're really big about growth on this podcast.
Huge about growth.
We love growth.
Growth.
Dude. And you have to, what did we say last time? You have to grow in your shit.
You got to grow in your mess.
Fertilizer.
Grow in
plants,
your mess.
Grow in the mess.
Yeah.
It's absolutely important. And so, I just wanted this podcast to be our perspectives about that and just to get people to really tune into their mental health and men especially. Like I know women have trouble too. Like there's women that don't go to therapy. They don't want to go to therapy because they think like your mother, right? Like she doesn't want to go because she thinks that she has to be crazy to go, right? But men.
Wait, which one? Should I go this one?
Go to this one.
If you're a male,
Yeah.
if you're a man, just give it a shot. I do it. Just give it a shot. Just go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Just see what happens. Even
Right.
if you think that there's nothing wrong.
And
Just go give it a shot.
And you know what? You can go to therapy a couple of times with a therapist and not like them. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? And then you find another therapist. You don't give up.
You got to find somebody you jive with.
Correct.
You got to find somebody you fuck with.
My
And
therapist,
when that happens.
I'm going to shout her out. She might not watch this, but Amber, I fucking love you. For real. No, you guys don't understand. I went to therapy through my separation and divorce before Josh died. His name is Josh, as everyone knows. But before he died,
Not everybody knows.
just so everyone knows now.
Okay.
Josh is his name. And when I was going to, she's a family and marriage counselor, right, or therapist. And when I was going to her, that was when I was separating from Josh, getting a divorce from him, leaving the church. So she knew all of that shit before, right? I lost my job. So I lost my insurance, couldn't go back to her. In the process of me not being able to go back to her, that's when I lost my job already, but then that's when Josh died. And it was literally like, the grief, I can't even explain it. It was absolutely awful for that entire year of not going to therapy because I didn't have a way to get there. I didn't have money to get there. I was like, I just have to deal with this on my own. And then when I got a job again, I was like, okay, I need to go back. This is like a priority for me. And literally I hadn't talked to her for an entire year. Could you imagine the first session
You
after
went back
that?
and you were like, girl,
let me pour myself a drink.
yo,
If you knew.
girl, just
If you, no,
just-
I really am. I really am.
real
pouring a
quick.
little
You know,
bit.
I want to
It's
shout
not
out.
one.
Can I shout out I want to shout out my CSAT.
Yeah, go.
Tanisha, I don't. She's
Tanisha.
certainly Tanisha. She's black. She was a sweetheart, but she taught me so much. She taught me so much. And the very first thing that I remember that she taught me, do you know? You know what it is?
No.
Bad isn't a feeling.
Oh,
Look.
what a great,
And
what
that
a
shit
great piece of advice.
Stuck with me.
It did.
And it will stick
'Cause
with
you
me
taught me that.
forever. I've taught
taught me that.
so many people that.
Yeah.
I try and teach people that all the time.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to listen, I'll tell them.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody says they feel bad, it's like bad isn't a feeling.
Absolutely.
Bad isn't a feeling. Anytime you say you feel bad, you really feel something deeper, but you just say you're feeling bad just to
right.
move
It's like
on
the
with
only,
it.
yeah, just like the only
It's a
thing you can
coverall.
think of. Yeah, it's a coverall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime you say you feel bad, if you're listening to this, man, woman, child, I don't care. If you say you feel bad, you need to figure out what you actually feel.
No children should be listening to this. Just an FYI.
Yeah.
But it's
You're
fine.
right.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm just saying everybody.
If you're a parent and you can teach this to your children.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad is not a
Bad
feeling.
is not a feeling. Oh my God. If a parent taught that to their child.
Do you know how much different their life would probably look to understand, and unpack their actual
Oh
feelings?
my God.
Most of the time I've noticed that when I say I feel bad, it's guilty.
Yeah.
That's my major
A lot
feeling.
of the times.
That's my major
for
feeling.
men, though, it can be sadness.
Yeah.
It's really anything that you can't directly identify. And for men, it's very hard to identify all emotions except for anger.
Yeah.
And anger is the only emotion that we're allowed to show, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime we're
alpha.
Yeah, anytime we feel sad or guilt or shame, we don't know how to process it. So it just comes out as anger. Right. And so this is
Shit.
something that I learned.
That's good.
And it's you need to take a step back. And I'm gonna post it. Tanisha gave me this emotions wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Have I sent it to you?
No, but I've seen, I don't know if it's the same one, but I've seen
I'm
one.
sure it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes, anytime you're feeling something and you can't, because I can't tell you how many times I was in therapy and she was like, how did you feel? And I was like, I don't know how I felt. I felt something, but I don't know what it was.
People aren't in tune with their feelings.
A lot of men aren't emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
We're very emotionally ignorant. And that's okay.
Do you think that's societal or do you think that's genetics?
Both.
Both?
I'm sure
Yeah.
it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm always interested because I feel like to me, it feels very societally driven because men for the entire, beginning portion that I remember, even in Old Testament, even in Bible days, you don't show, that wasn't something, they were
Yeah.
the man, they were the caretaker, the financial, everything. And the women's just like the little vessel.
I love
You
going back to primal times,
Primal,
right? And taking
right?
things back to primal times.
Yeah.
I would love to know whether or not our primal male cells showed emotion, right?
Right.
I doubt it. I feel like anything that you say is societal can be tracked back to
primal.
our primal selves.
I agree with that, yeah.
Where women were the more emotional caretakers.
And we were the caretakers.
Yeah.
We were the mothers, right? We took
Yeah.
care of the children. You guys were out hunting and gathering.
Do we need emotions for hunting and gathering?
No, because
don't
in
think
fact,
so.
you don't want emotions because
yeah.
you'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to kill this poor deer.
Yeah. And so honestly, going to therapy and becoming emotionally intelligent is fighting our most
But
basic
do you think
selves.
it was still emotional though? Because you're thinking, I need to kill this deer because I love my family. That's still emotional, right? In a sense, I guess.
Do you think they felt sadness for
Not
the
for the animal. No, but they felt like that love, right? And that compassion for their family because they knew if they didn't kill that animal to eat it, that their family wouldn't eat. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. I really
go
don't
ask
know.
them.
Yeah. Well, let's just, let me go grab them real quick.
Did
I'll be right
cavemen
back.
feel love?
I don't know. Dude, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if they did.
Wait, were cavemen monogamous?
Shit.
Interesting.
We should look that up.
Yeah, we got to look that
I
up.
actually don't think they probably were.
I don't know.
They don't quote me. I don't know anything about this. I'm just thinking about, this is just me coming off the top of my head. But if you're living as a caveman and you have like a community, what rules were there that you couldn't be with other people in that community?
It's genuinely the best way to extend your species' existence.
Correct. So if you kept mating,
yeah,
right?
For sure.
Right. So yeah. I honestly don't know, but that's a good question.
Yeah. So going back, men are usually not very emotionally intelligent, and we can only express our emotions via anger. Whether you should be feeling sadness or guilt or what have you, it usually comes out as anger.
Yeah.
And so Tanisha sent me this emotions wheel, and anytime I was feeling something I didn't know what it was, I would look at it. I would pull it out. I still have it. It's in my phone.
You need to post it for sure.
We'll
post it on all of our social media platforms.
I'll post it. But I looked at it and I just go around and be like, that's what I'm feeling. You know? And it was so powerful to be able to identify what you were feeling at that moment. Like that's what that was, and being able to process it. Because once you give it a name and you can recognize it, you're like, oh, that's what that is. And you're like, why am I feeling that way? And you process through it and you kind of like get over it in a sense. And you're like, okay, instead of just packing it away, like, oh, I feel something, but I'm just going to ignore it, especially those every day is a good day, I have no bad days kind of people.
I call that there's a phrase for that. It's toxic positivity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I used to be that way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you never have negative emotions. Yeah. And like I'm about being positive, right? Yeah. Like I believe in affirmations. Mm-hmm. I believe that getting in front of the mirror, I literally have I have body dysmorphia like crazy. I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
We know where, even at my physique and your physique, totally different physiques, doesn't matter. You have body dysmorphia, right? Yeah. And that's why I get mad too sometimes when like bigger women like make fun of smaller women like for having body dysmorphia, because I'm like, they fucking have it too. Like, it's the same thing. Like we all experience things so differently, right? But like I believe in like getting in front of the mirror, looking at myself. I know I've been through a lot, right? 175 pounds of weight loss, probably more. I haven't weighed myself in a minute. And like, I know that like my body's gonna look different, but I look in front of the mirror and I'm like, I'm fucking beautiful. I fucking look good.
Fuck yeah,
I look so good.
Yeah.
I look hot. I'm beautiful just the way I am. Even if I don't get the skin removal, I'm still sexy. Like, and I have to like convince myself, because it's so important to, I heard, and I think this is a really good analogy, and this is why I'm mentioning it. Like, I've heard like the way that you think about things is kind of like a farmer who's plowing dirt when they're about to grow some things, right? So when they're plowing the same dirt over and over, it's easy, right? It's easy to plow the same dirt over and over and over. You're just making the same grooves. You're doing the same thing over and over. But when you get a new piece of land, when you're exploring something new and you try to plow, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Right? So I went 175 pounds lost. I'm in a different mindset now, right? So I'm plowing this new piece of land,
it's
fucking hard, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so hard. And it's so important to know that that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal to feel ugly. It's normal to feel disgusting. It's normal.
It's normal to struggle.
Yeah, it is. And I think that it's something that like everybody needs to know. Like, get in front of the mirror. Get in front of the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror naked. And just be like, I look good, because affirmations are really important when you're dealing with body dysmorphia. Like, you just have to affirm. So I'm not for toxic positivity per se, but I am for affirmations, because you are still trying to get a new mindset.
Plow those grooves.
Yeah, you got to plow a new mindset, and it's going to be really hard, but you just do it.
Yeah.
But you can still feel ugly while you're doing it.
Yeah.
I feel gross when I say I look sexy sometimes. I'm like, I know, I just feel disgusting. But I am hot, and I just do it anyway, because it's just trying to convince yourself, that you look good, and then you eventually think, okay, why am I so hard on myself? Like, why am I so hard on myself? I need to be kinder to myself, to my body, be understanding, okay, I do look good. And what is good, right? Good is very, very much
very objective.
1,000.
Yeah.
It's so objective.
Yep.
And I think that we use societal standards as the point of this is what we should look like. And then we don't realize that that's not how it works. That's not how it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm not about toxic positivity. Okay. But I do think affirmations are very important. But you were talking about like people that are they just continue to be.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't remember what the fuck I was about to say, but I would like to see those people. Yes, this is what I was gonna say. I would like to see those people like go and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like those kinds of people are the ones who need to talk to somebody the most.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't know. I'm not gonna say a lot of people, but maybe some people. I'm gonna say definitely some people hide. They hide things in that. Yeah. I know. I did for sure, because I used to be that. Oh, every day's a good day. Nothing but positivity and it's
positive vibes only.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for
I
good
want positive vibes.
Yeah, I'm all for good vibes.
I want them.
Don't get me wrong.
Right. But was today a positive vibe for you?
Nah, today was a rough day.
It was rough.
It was a rough day.
Is it positive right now?
It's good now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
sure.
it's okay to have a bad day and then to have good parts of the bad day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you go home and you process your bad day and then you're fine. You know what I mean? You're
okay.
good. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. And I was like, all I care about when people are having bad days, like, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like, what do you need? Like, what can I do to make you feel better?
Yeah.
You're hungry? Let's go get food. Let's get you balanced. Let's get you back to something, because like sometimes it's just something easy, like it just sets you off and it's like, okay, what can you do to like make it better? You know what I mean? Do something that makes you a little bit happier. Maybe and I'm not saying that like go spend money or go do something toxic to what you shouldn't be doing, but like, do something that's going to make you feel a little bit better, right? So I'm all about that. I'm all about getting people back to where they feel at least somewhat normal.
Yeah. Somewhat
normal, because I hate when people feel bad or feel sad. I know. See, I correct myself all the time.
You've done it before on
multiple
the
times.
Podcast even. I've heard you say I feel, and then and
I have to correct myself. I'm like, I know. And just to talk about a little bit more about toxic positivity, and then we do have to close. But something I know it's already almost 8:30. We got to wrap it up.
Get on up out of here.
But something that I, grew up in evangelical Christianity, as a lot of you guys know, and it was always, you could never be negative. You could never be negative, because it was like, well, God's got this. God's got you. God will never leave your side. God will, and here's the thing: if you can still believe that God is by your side and still have a fucking horrible day.
Yeah.
So whatever your religious standpoint is, like whatever you think, like you can still feel like, okay, like even if I were, and I don't know where I'm at, just to be completely honest, but like I do have a hard time letting go of the idea of God. Like I do still want to believe that, right? And even if like I had a friend and she's so sweet, she knew I was having a really hard time, and she's like, I want you to know that God's always there. And okay, that doesn't mean even if he's always there, it doesn't matter. I can still feel shitty. I can still feel like a bag of shit, right? It's a way to make people say, like, don't worry about your feelings. God's there to take care of everything that you're going through. And it's not necessarily true in the sense that God's not helping you really process your feelings. Like, you really need to process those yourself, right? And then, like, even if he's there with you to comfort you, that's different. Like, if you feel a spiritual thing, to, like, comfort you through that, I'm all for it. But don't sit here and tell me, like, God is, like, there all the time. Everything he does, it's just, everything's going to be peachy keen, rainbows and sunshine. That's what evangelical Christianity really is. Dirty, gritty Christianity, that what I really got saved with was like, life fucking sucks, but God is there, so that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I appreciated that more than like everything is rainbows and sunshine. Therapy is not a thing in the church. And if you go to church, I just need to tell you, as a churchgoer, Christian counseling is not enough. I'm just going to be real. I'm just going to be real. It's not enough because all they're doing is using the Bible to literally counsel you through your problems. And I'm not saying there aren't scriptures and things like that that make you feel, you know, better about what your situation is, or even Bible stories that will make you feel a little bit better about your situation. But that doesn't mean that you can't have totally shitty days. I always go back to the book of Job. If you don't know the Bible, the book of Job literally went through the shittiest time of his life. People were dying all around him. Family was dying. He was getting blisters all over his body. I mean, he was literally going through shit, and he still depended on the love of God. If anything, I appreciate Job more than anything because he was like, fuck my life right now. Fuck my life. If the whole book of Job could be put into one sentence, it would be fuck my life. Because it was literally the worst. And that's the point of that story is like, you're going to go through shitty time. Christian counseling is not enough. You need to go to a licensed therapist that's going to help you process your actual thoughts, your actual emotions. Go to a psychiatrist. You may need meds. I am pro meds. I am not saying everyone should be on meds. It's not for everybody. But it's okay to be on meds. It's okay. You know what I mean? I think that you just have to find the right psychiatrist and I'm not a medical doctor, so let's just disclaim that. Yeah, this is not medical advice.
None of this.
Advice. Yeah, none of this is medical advice. In my personal experience, though, I know meds have helped me. You know, in my friends' experiences, I know meds have helped them. And I know that in other friends and people's experiences, meds have not been great.
Yeah.
And so you have to really listen and be in tune with your body, with your emotions, with your mind. Be real with yourself. Like, I had to be real about ADD, right? The meds I was on, addictive.
Yeah.
100% addictive.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on that med anymore.
Wouldn't you say all medications like that are
You get
addictive?
dependent on it. Yeah. You get dependent on it.
It's just natural.
But some of the things I feel like are necessary to help you at least balance your life a little bit. Whereas like there's some that's straight up like Adderall for me. For me, if you're on Adderall, good. And it works for you, good for you. For me, it was like consistently like I was always hyped up, and I was like it was too much, you know. And I was always feeling like I was on speed, you know.
No, you were.
Well, I mean, I was on legal speed. So you know, just finding a balance and understanding that meds are okay, but be real with yourself and be real with your body. And like, are you using it as a crutch or are you using it as a tool?
Ooh.
Right?
Use it as a tool.
Yeah, as a tool. Like I'm using my meds now as a tool to help me get better because I need to get better. I know that I'm in a place where I need to get better, right? Yeah. But also like if you're using Adderall or any other ADD medication just to get through your study session and that's it, and like you're using it just to stay up later, is that a good idea?
Like consistently?
Is it a good idea? And it might be a good idea for some other aspects of that medication, like it's helping you in other ways, but really look at it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Be real with yourself and understand. But anyways, we really do need to wrap up.
We do.
Yeah. We need to wrap up, but this is such a great topic.
We're going to have to talk about this again.
We do. I
got stuff to say about medication too.
I think there's a part 2. Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about meds next time.
We can.
Yeah, and I would love to hear your perspective on meds because
I would love to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to close out. We really appreciate you guys that have been listening. We know that we have some pretty avid listeners. And we just really want to thank you guys for supporting our podcast, for supporting a dream that I've had, a dream that Ernest has had. I think that this is such a cool experience. If you like what you're seeing, we want you guys to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on all the socials. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter. Instagram at JezebelAndTheJester. Twitter is Jezebel and
the Jest.
And the Jest.
Yeah.
Because we got to shorten it up.
15 characters. Make
sure you guys follow us on YouTube, Jezebel and the Jester. Subscribe if you haven't already.
Like the video.
Interact.
And hit that bell notification.
Yeah, so that we know that, so that you guys know when we're going to come out with a new.
And drop a comment. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. We like to respond to
comments,
stuff.
Criticisms, anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Personal experiences. Like we want to hear it all. We want to know what your guys' perspectives are as well, because our perspectives are our perspectives. And we like to hear our listeners' perspectives as well. So we really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And you guys have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.